What is up, guys? Today I'm going to be discussing the differences between the S7 Edge and the LG V20. Now, I've used both phones for a little while, and I just kind of wanted to give a comparison between the two, because if you're looking to buy either of these phones, you should definitely watch this video, because they will be comparing, and I'm going to give kind of a clear winner on which one I think you should get. So to start off, I'm going to go over some of the physical features. Now, the S7 Edge is a bit smaller than the V20. As you can see, I believe it's about 5.5 inches versus 5.7 inches. They both have the same screen resolution, so that does mean the S7 Edge does have a little bit better pixel density, but it's pretty small. I mean, they're both 1440 by 2560 screens, so you're gonna be getting good screen on either phone. So the screen to body ratio on the S7 Edge is a little bit better because of that. It also, I mean, it's S7 Edge, so the phone itself goes all the way down to here. Meanwhile, most phones, you know, they end right about there. So the S7 Edge was one of the first phones to really have this full screen. And I like that, but there are some problems with that because a lot of cases don't work exactly right, because a lot of the cases end up covering up a little bit of that phone. So sometimes when you need to press something that's on that edge, you might not be able to, depending on the case that you have. Now, just from the one case that I had, it was a decent case, but it did have that problem. So I don't know if that's just my case or if you're gonna run into that problem with any case you get. But I feel because it's so far down the screen itself, you will probably run into a problem like that every now and then. Now, they both have fingerprint sensors. The LG V20's is in the back here, and it doesn't seem too bad. It's not, if you have a small hand, you might have a little bit problem like reaching it. You'll have to go up on the phone rather than holding it right at the bottom. But I have no trouble just pressing that, and it's pretty fast as well, so just like that, you're able to do it. Now, the S7 Edges is on the bottom here. I don't think I have my fingerprint saved, but when I did have it, it didn't have any problems, so both of them have fingerprint sensors. Now, one thing that the LG V20 does have that most phones do not is this kind of additional display at the top, this little top bar, and you can have some stuff, so you can put on the flashlight, turn on and off Bluetooth, and I think you can customize it to however you want. I didn't find myself using it too much, but I think that could be useful for a lot of people if you wanted to have that like quick go-to option. I believe the S7 Edge also has sort of a similar thing with this, where they have edge panels. I never set this up because it didn't really matter to me. You can put different panels right here so you can access it with one little swipe, which to me seems a little more practical. The LG V20s, it's kind of gimmicky to have that at the top because really, unless you're holding your phone all the way up here, it's a little bit of a reach. But if you're using your other phone to tap, so if you want to do stuff with one hand, you can do it on the S7 Edge, but on the LG V20, if you're using two hands to do something, it'll be a little bit better. But it is kind of a cool little display. It's kind of an always-on display as well. They both have this always-on display. This one just reading the time in the center, and this one in that top row. Now, the camera. This is an interesting one because the V20 actually has a dual camera system and a wide-angled lens. So that is something that is pretty interesting. Now, I myself didn't find myself really needing the wide-angled lens. You can switch on and off between the two. And I found that the non-wide-angled lens view just wasn't what I wanted it to be. It seemed like too zoomed in. I don't know if that's just how it was compared to it, but I just didn't like it as much. The videos I took with that were a little bit worse than the S7 Edge's normal one. But I do have the option to have that wide-angled lens if you ever need that. So it depends on the shots that you want to take. If you want something where you need to capture a big field of view, you know, that would be very nice if you have the LG V20 for that. But the dual camera display is kind of interesting. It's I think it's one of the first phones to really use that very well. And you know, the S7 Edge only has the one camera, but the LG V20 has a 16 megapixel camera versus the 12 megapixel camera on the S7 Edge. Now, the number for megapixels isn't everything. The V20 actually has dual LED versus the single LED flash, which isn't too big of a difference. But the aperture size on the S7 Edge is actually 1.7 versus 1.8 on the LG V20. Now, for the video resolution, they both do 4K, it's the Ultra HD. This one doesn't do Quad HD, which I don't know exactly why you would need to do that. maybe if you just need to save a little bit of space. It also both has full HD, so 1080p at 60 FPS, so if you want to have that smoother feel, smoother look, you can get that. And I believe they also both employ slow-mo, but only at 720p. So they have, I think, 240 FPS, so you can do quarter speed, basically, at 720p, which is okay. The video won't look great when compared to like a normal 1080p video. You'll definitely be able to notice a drop in quality, but it should still produce pretty cool slow-mo shots. So overall, I would say the cameras are pretty equal. I would probably go overall with the S7 Edge's camera. I just found it was a little bit better just from my testing. But they're very similar. It's almost unnoticeable. So if you're looking for something with a nice camera, they're both gonna give that to you. They both can shoot in 4K. But if you're looking for the wide-angled lens, you know, I'd say go for the V20. Now, the front camera actually has wide-angled lens on the V20, and which is, again, an interesting feature, but you can get some cool shots. So if you want to take a selfie and have everything around you, then you can do that in the V20, which you can't do on the S7 Edge. So I'd actually give the front camera, I'd give that to the V20, but, you know, overall, they're pretty negligible differences. The only thing is that wide-angled lens. Oh, so I guess I didn't go over the weight. The LG V20 is a little bit heavier overall than the S7 Edge. I think it's 6.14 ounces versus 5.54, so pretty similar, not too different. But what is interesting about the V20 is that it's got a metal back. Now, for a lot of people, this won't matter because they're going to be using a case, but it does give a kind of cool feel, that metal sleek backing. But I mean, for most people, I would suggest using a case for both of these phones, so metal backing won't matter too much. Now, one big feature that the V20 has that the S7 Edge does not have is a removable battery. Yes, in fact, it's one of the last removable batteries out there, and it's pretty easy to take off. All you need to do is find this button on the side, and the back comes off. You've got your micro SD card, and you can take the battery out. So this backing case, metal, comes right off, and then you can put it right back on. It clicks back into place. So having a removable battery may be a deal breaker to you if you want to get one of the last good phones with that removable battery. V20 is the phone to get because almost all of them now are integrated into the phone, not swappable. So if you need to go somewhere and you want to carry two batteries with you instead of having like a chargeable battery pack, V20, that's one of the last phones you're going to be able to do that with. So definitely giving some points to the V20 right there for that, because that, for a lot of people, is kind of a big deal. Now, both of these have the same system chip in them, and the processor is just about the same. The S7 Edge's is 2200 megahertz versus 2150 megahertz, both quad-core. You're going to get just about identical performances between them, so it's not too big of a deal. Both have 4 gigs of RAM, but the V20 has 64 gigabytes of internal storage. So that's pretty big. That's double the size. So after the OS is loaded in, they both can take in SD cards, so that's not too big of a deal, but if you don't have an SD card, you're probably gonna need to buy one with the Edge, but you might not need to for the V20 because 64 gigabytes will last you, get you a lot of pictures, that'll get you a lot of videos. So V20 gets another win there in internal storage. And for storage expansion, the V20 can have larger micro SD cards in it than the S7 Edge, but I mean, after 128 gigabytes, I don't think it really matters too much. Now, the batteries on the two, the S7 Edge actually has 3600 milliamp hours versus the 3200 on the LG V20, and that means you're going to be getting a little bit better battery life with the S7 Edge. But one good thing about the V20 is since it has USB Type-C instead of the micro USB, it's actually going to have the Quick Charge 3.0 versus 2.0. So I believe this will actually charge a bit faster if you've got the right cables and everything than the S7 Edge. But overall, I would still prefer the better battery life, and you probably have a bunch of micro USB cables still lying around from older phones, while you probably have to get a lot new USB Type-C. But if you're gonna be getting more phones in the future, they're probably all gonna have the USB Type-C, so that's another thing to keep in mind. Now for the prices. Now overall, the S7 Edge is a bit more expensive. Now I buy my phones refurbished, so you can probably find them refurbished somewhere for the S7 Edge around $200 to $250, while the LG V20 you can probably find from $120 to $150, maybe a little bit more than that. But either way, it's a pretty significant price difference in these phones. And I don't really see why you should get the S7 Edge at this price point over the V20, because they both really just kind of have very similar specs. Overall, I actually may even give it to the V20. I prefer this phone a little bit to the S7 Edge, but they both do about the same thing. So if you like all of the features of the Edge over the V20, then maybe get that. But overall, the most bang for your buck you're going to be getting is with the V20. I didn't have any problems when using it. It seems like a great phone. It seems just basically like an LG G5, but upgraded in kind of just every way. You know, it seems like a very solid phone. The removable battery is pretty nice for me. You can have a second battery with you on the go. Always charged up, boom, just swap them. So I didn't run into any problems, any significant problems with either of these phones when using them. So I think they're both very solid phones, but most bang for your buck, probably the V20. But if you have a bunch of money to spend, you know, maybe get the S7 Edge, but I really don't see many situations where you're going to be getting a better deal for this phone than this phone. So those are my final thoughts. If you disagree with anything I said, please let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you and talk about it. You know, maybe I got a couple things wrong in my review, so I'd love to hear from you if you have any feedback for me. But yeah, overall, definitely would recommend the V20 over the Edge. You know, I love both phones. They're both great, solid phones, but really the LG V20 just kind of takes it overall. Just better bang for your buck, so definitely would recommend. But thank you guys for watching. I hope you found this video helpful when buying a new phone. So if you did, please leave a like and please subscribe to my channel and let me know if there's any videos you want to see, any comparisons. You know, I'd love to try and help you guys out some more. So thank you again for watching. Peace.